What up, what up? It's DJ Chuck the Old Soul.
MC Eliminates.
DJ is Lord.
And we are Honor Flow Productions. And right now you're tuned into Untapped Hip Hop. Man, Will, keep watching. Don't change the channel. Don't go nowhere. Come back, get a snack, whatever you're gonna do. But make sure you don't change the channel. We got dope shit on the way as always, man. Shouts out, much love, slow clap, salute.
Close your tabs.
Courteously, I rap respectfully. Come from Citrus Valley, but my heart's a terrier. I'm a buzz and that girl, she got the curls, she's a high beast. All the stuff I do is low key. Chill, I really.
So, hello, my name's Christian Layone. I'm from the Inland Empire, or more specifically Highland, California, but I've lived in like Redlands and Loma Linda, in such that like I hang out with lots of Redlands people. I mean, I went to Redlands Unified School District, and so I know a lot of people in there. What I do, I produce, I rap, I mix, I master. I do the whole thing, taught myself kind of like how to do like honestly everything, because I haven't been able to meet anyone who's able to like do it for me, so I kind of just have to do it myself, you know? So there's that. Why hip-hop? Honestly, it was kind of like I got into like listening to hip-hop around like I'd say freshman year of high school, and like what put me on was Childish Gambino, actually, because like prior to like listening to hip-hop, I kind of had like a very like, and like this is around like I'd say middle school and like elementary, I kind of had like a very like superficial, very not so like well-informed, ignorant kind of like view of like, or perspective of like hip-hop, kind of like a very like suburban kind of point of view, because you know how everyone always like stereotypes it to be like the most like popular things that are like going on right now. And so I kind of felt the same way, and it wasn't until like I listened to like Childish Gambino's like stuff like in depth, like this was around the time when because the internet dropped, and so like during that time I actually listened through all of it, and like I saw like kind of like his like artistic like intentions, and I realized there's a lot more levels to this. And so because of that, it was like I ended up like getting into like hip hop. I started listening to like more of like artists that are like Childish Gambino, so I'd say like Chance the Rapper, or I listened to a lot of Drake. A lot of Drake around that time. That was I think Nothing Was the Same, yeah. And then yeah, from there I like started listening to like hip hop like in depth. I started listening to more like more underground kind of like artists and stuff. Unfortunately, because I got into hip hop at such like a late kind of like time, I'm unfortunately a little bit less informed about like older school stuff. But like I've been trying my best to like get more into like the old school and understand kind of like where like it comes from, you know, kind of like the culture there. Yeah, that was like honestly, because this is around a time where like when I was writing my first project, Mimic, it was like the idea of Mimic is that it kind of like covered like a lot of like my life prior to like releasing that album, and also my life during writing that album. There've been a lot of times where like where I'd like feel really like down. Like I actually felt like honestly completing that album was actually one of like the only my reasons for like living. It was kind of scary. Like I talk about it on some of the songs. I think Soliloquy, that song with Josh Michael and Love Chuck, but like basically it talks about how like I'll like see days all like cloudy, and how like honestly my like motivation for like getting out of school, or not just going through the day, was to finish this album. And so I'll take time kind of just like writing about like a variety of like things that I've went through, like a lot of Mimic talks about like girls I've liked and how like my heart was broken by them, personality changes, stuff like that, kind of like in like held in like anger and a lot of like subject matter. I mean, the thing about that album though is that like, and I use album and like mixtape like interchangeably, so it's like, because like nowadays it's kind of like the same thing.
It's your own work, man.
Yeah. I like, how do I put it? Like a lot of the songs on that album, like they didn't happen chronologically, like, but I kind of like arranged it in like a sort of like way where like it kind of like tell the story, because I'm a big fan of like concept like albums, and I kind of wish more people like my generation would listen to like albums like from front to back as well, because like albums are like sonic like movies, and like I listen to them all the time in like the car, and like it kind of tells like a story from each track to each track. Like these artists, they put a lot of like detail into like which like track goes in like a certain order, and they have transitions and stuff. And I do the same thing with my albums, because that's just something like I really like. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people listen to me, they kind of just put like a song on like a playlist and that's it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love playlists as well, right? I love like listening to just like, because like playlists create like a mood, but an album's like a movie with multiple moods. And I kind of wish people would like recognize that. The thing about like creativity is that like you have to be able to sometimes like it comes out like naturally. Like a lot of the process during when I was making like Mimic and My Miserable Summer is that I had to like force myself, right? And that's like, it's hard, especially like it produces like producer's block. Like sometimes you can't like think of like what to make. And so the best like creative, like the best about like the best aspects of my creativity come when I'm not trying. And so for me, it's like when I make like these like beats, because like a lot of the stuff like My Miserable Summer is all like, how do I put it? I found myself kind of like, I give myself a time limit, right? Like around like 10 minutes. 10 minutes, I'll find a sound and just like mess with it until it becomes like a beat. I make a bunch of these and then I pick the best ones. And then from there, like these beats are just like ideas, by the way. They're not like the full like instrumentation with like extra layers and stuff. I take those beats that I like, those ideas, and then like I expand upon that because it's easy to expand upon it once you actually have an idea down. And so because of that, I'm able to like develop it into like a more cohesive kind of like sound. And yeah, that's My Miserable Summer. It's like a bunch of beats that were like combined and like layered upon to create like a fuller sound. And I put the tracks in like an order and like work on like transitions between them, so it helps like tell the story better, you know. My Miserable Summer is a song, or not a song, but it's an album dedicated to this one girl. And I have a lot of like I've known her for like a really long time. And like back in like around like freshman year, I like had like a little bit of like a little crush on her, and my ass got rejected. But like from there though, we actually got closer from there, and we became like really close. It was to the point that a lot of us were like calling us like best friends and stuff. And like some people thought we were like dating and stuff, though it wasn't like that though. And like I thought I moved on from her, but then like after I graduated, so this is actually like really recently, but like after I graduated, like I started like hanging around like with her and like some of our other friends like during the summer. And like it was that summer, even though the album's called My Miserable Summer, it was actually probably one of the best summers I had like my whole life.
Why do you name it My Miserable Summer then?
Because I thought of her every day. And like because of that, it was miserable because like I ended up catching feels for her again. And like during this time, it made me miserable because the circumstances behind it were very like, just made me feel miserable. Like all the time, I kind of just felt like very, because like it was to the point where like, how do I put it? Like for me and her to be a thing where it could never happen. And it's that kind of like sad truth that kind of made me miserable, because when you still have like feelings for someone, it kind of like, how do I put it? Like emotion sometimes takes over rational thought sometimes. And so those like two, like the sad truth and the feelings of like wanting to be with her colliding kind of just like is not a good feeling. And to feel that for the entirety of like summer, despite seeing her like all the time, kind of like sucked. And it was to the point where like I felt that I had to like confess these feelings to her, but she left for college during fall quarter, and so I wasn't able to see her, which made it even worse. And during that time, that energy actually helped me be able to finish the album actually. And yeah, a lot of the album kind of is like talking about kind of like the feelings I felt towards her, both very like of like a hopeless romantic, or very like self kind of like hatred, or very like protective, kind of like basically the whole span. And also on the side were also like other like emotions that I felt for like other like topics. Like I Got Problems, one of the songs on there is about kind of like how do I put it? It low-key kind of developed into like a sense of like paranoia. And so I felt that kind of like, because of these feelings for this girl, right, it kind of like diffused into feelings of against like other people, of like paranoia, of like people like talking about me and stuff. And like honestly, there was a lot, I personally feel there was a lot of that when I first released Mimic actually, because as a high school kid releasing like a project, people kind of like just classify you under this like category of like a SoundCloud rapper. And like that, like the thing about being a SoundCloud rapper is that's like a negative stigma right there. Like it's to the point where like if someone says they're a SoundCloud rapper, they're kind of just like, yeah, I don't know about that one. the reason why I say that SoundCloud rapper has like a negative stigma is because like, especially when you're like in high school, if it, like some high school kid tries it, yeah, everyone wants to be a rapper, but no one wants to actually like commit to it and be like an artist and have like a message to like stand for, and you know, and be able to like artistically kind of like represent kind of like your emotions and your thoughts, right, properly. Because I know so many people from like my school and like RUSD who are like they drop stuff on like SoundCloud, and just because of the fact that they have like high school clout kind of like makes them feel like they could actually be something, but when you actually listen to it, it's like it's not that good. And so when I released Mimic, I feel like a lot of people kind of just like subconsciously put me in that category, but because they didn't listen to it on like an in-depth scale, they didn't they listened to it on like a surface level. But you have like, unfortunately, it is what it is, but a lot of like the stuff that I make's like very like, you have to like listen to it a few times to actually understand, and it's just, it is what it is. Like in terms of like the actual lyrical content, what I do is that like whenever I feel an emotion, right, like by an emotion like a strong hysterical emotion, like for example, like that girl that I was talking about that album's like dedicated to, sometimes when I see her post about like this guy that she's seeing, right, it's like that emotion of like kind of like I in that heat of the moment, when I see that, I quickly pull out my phone, I pull up my notes app and just write down what I'm feeling at the moment. It doesn't have to necessarily be the most rational thing, but it captures it. And then from there, when I go back on it, I look at the whatever I wrote, I'm just like, what the heck? But then like but that's actually like, I found that method to be better, of like taking those emotions and like eventually wording it into something that like works as like a lyric, rather than thinking about it like for like later on. Cause like at the moment you feel it, but like you probably had those moments where it's like at the time it was like you felt like really like stressed out, but nowadays you're chilling, right? But it's hard to recreate that feeling, and so it's better to just get that feeling as like, yeah, in the moment, and then look on it later and just work it based off of that. So it might not even be something that you feel right now. Like I'm chilling right now, but like at the moment, like it's something I can like look back on, like harness. Emotionally, I've kind of just like, or not emotionally, but like vocally, like vocal performance wise, it's a lot of like, I had to go through a lot of like practice in terms of like being able to express like my emotion properly on like my vocals, because like I hear a lot of people tell me that like I'm able to express that properly, and it's like one thing when I'm talking about like those SoundCloud rappers that are like really bad, right, in the area, they don't know how to properly express that, right? They kind of just like
A lot of yelling.
either a lot of yelling or a lot of like talking, rapping. Like they don't know how to like use dynamics in it, and like that's something in like when you're working on music, dynamics is key, because like it helps you like it kind of like also tells a story in itself, in that you could either be soft at one point or loud at the other point. Hold on. And so like because of that, if you're able to manage to utilize both like dynamics, it works. Because I yell in some of my songs, but I also am soft in some of my songs, and to combine that together, it creates like the wide range of emotions. Like on Fallen Angels, on My Miserable Summer, I combine that. And because like these are like, how do I put it, on Fallen Angels, the last verse I talk about like feelings of like wanting to protect this girl that the whole album's like dedicated about, and like I use kind of like a little like dynamic in order to like help like express how I feel, because that's genuinely how I feel. It's very like shocking, very like at the same time kind of like scared, very protective, and that kind of emotion. Also, you have to, you might have to do a little bit of method acting when it comes to that. You have to like feel the emotion when you display it, because that helps a lot. And so a lot of the times when I record these verses, I'm actually like feeling that emotion. Other times it's more prominent than others, but yeah. Growth is just something I really appreciate in like someone, or just like as an artist. It's something that I appreciate as well, because way back then, before Mimic, right, I actually had like a few tracks out that were like really bad, and like a lot of people like clowned me for that, you know, but like and then as you grow from that, like you eventually get into like a better artist, into who you are. And so my new stuff is actually really different from My Miserable Summer already, and it's like you just got to keep growing, because that's change, and like it's also a story itself. I mean, honestly, I'm one who really just enjoys like artistic like expression. If I hear someone and I can tell that they definitely put a lot of thought into what they produce, right? It's not something that's like thoughtless. It's something that like you actually like put a lot of effort and like like consideration into, and you really like consider the culture, then that's kind of something I want to be. I mean, I feel that I'm getting to that point. Also, I want that to be heard. Like, I really want the IE to like be like more like recognized, and any sort of method, whether that be like through like I guess like promotion and stuff, or just like networking and just like knowing people, is definitely like something that I want to like achieve. Yeah, DM me or my manager if you know who it is. I'll direct you to him. But yeah, hit me in the DMs because I'm looking to work. At Christian Layone, ChristianLayone. Yeah.
Regret messing with me and feel the content shut. Shout out to each tongue.